Hello, everyone, and thank you for taking time to watch these midweek videos. Just as a quick reminder, these midweek videos are a continuation or furthering ideas on the teaching that I presented on Sunday. If you haven't listened to the teaching on Sunday, I've actually included the teaching portion of Sunday's teachings actually on the YouTube page that you're on right now. So if you haven't watched that yet, you can click on that after this video. And for those of you that might like to rewatch that Sunday teaching in lieu of some of the comments that I'm making now, you're free to do that. And it's all in one place. Again, I'm trying to be very user-friendly. So this past week, we were continuing the series on becoming aware. And we're really focusing on how we can become more aware of ourselves and how that will help us become more aware of who God is, and how becoming more aware of God is actually helps us become more aware of ourselves. It works together. And so we've really been focusing the last few weeks on becoming more aware. This last week we talked about the subject of feelings. And now I made fun of that super cheesy song from 1975 around feelings, and I'm not going to sing that again for you because I don't want to torture you again. But, you know, we talked about feelings, and we talked about the fact that feelings aren't bad. Emotions are not bad. Actually, we were created to express emotion and to have feelings. Scripture actually records moments where God is displaying emotion or feeling or talking about it, and the same with Jesus. And so feelings and emotions are something that we were created to have. However, if emotions and feelings alone by themselves are the things that are guiding us, we can end up in some really funky places and even some dark places because of those feelings. And so we really looked at the question around what can we bring into that equation that can help, bring our feelings back in line or our thoughts back in line, because thoughts and emotions and feelings are connected. You can't have one without the other. So what can we bring to that equation to help correct those emotions and thoughts? The one thing that we talked about is the only thing that we can bring into that situation, into that equation, is truth. Now, truth in the Bible, especially in the New Testament, is big and it's all-encompassing. We focused our conversation out of the the Gospel of John, and he quotes Jesus a lot around truth and how people responded to truth. Truth there is this word aletheia, and it's a huge and big concept of truth. Often when we talk about truth, we're thinking about speaking truth versus lies, or writing truth versus lies, or believing false ideas versus true ideas. And yes, that is part of the definition of truth here, but it's also more than that. It's an all-encompassing truth. It's in conduct and ideas and in relationships. And fortunately for us, we have the person of Jesus who we can look at. And actually, Scripture says that if we're followers of Jesus, we do the things that he tells us to do. We pattern our lives after him. So truth is really important to John, and he quotes Jesus a lot, two of which really stand out in my mind. John chapter 8 says, "It is the truth that sets us free." And he's quoting Jesus there. Jesus is saying the truth is what sets us free. And that even gets bigger and more substantial when we look at John chapter 14 and verse 6, where Jesus actually says, "I am the way, I am the truth." So Jesus is saying that he is this concept of truth, this all-encompassing 360-degree bigness of truth. Jesus actually is. And that is awesome for us because we have the stories, we have the life of Jesus in order to pattern ourselves by. Today I would like to talk about something that I really didn't have the time or the opportunity to talk about on Sunday, but I want to talk about truth in relationships. Oftentimes we look at relationships and we look at the relationship more from what are people bringing in the relationship. So if I were to talk about truth in relationships, often our minds default to Is the person I'm with being honest? Is the person I'm with being genuine? Is the person I'm with, are they placating me? Are they just telling me what I want to hear, et cetera, et cetera? We are often focused outward. However, my brothers and my sisters, I would like to see that reality a little different. I would like us to see that actually truth, and we see it from how Jesus conducted himself, is that he brought something to relationships. He brought truth into relationships. And we see that Jesus is incredibly generous with people. He's incredibly gracious and patient. We also see that Jesus has times where he's clearing out the temple as well. We also see Jesus is saying some hard things to people who are in power, people who were in different types of religious tradition, or involved in the law somehow. Jesus had some very strong words for them as well. However, what he brought was truth into those relationships. See, often we can tend to be like crows, the big blackbirds that are sitting up on wires or tree limbs, and they're always crowing. They're always crowing at something or someone. And oftentimes I feel like that's kind of how we are with the critical spirit. We have the tendency to always be critical of what people are doing, sometimes even what they're not doing. We can be critical because we think, well, I wish they would have said this or done this or acted this way, and we're always becoming critical. We're always crowing. And my brothers and my sisters, the truth applied to that relationship is it's not primarily an issue with the person in front of us. The primary issue is with ourselves. We need to embrace the truth that we have become critical in that relationship. Or maybe we're in a relationship where we're always assuming the worst of the other person. We're always assuming that what they have to say is there's a hidden meaning or agenda. We're always looking for what they don't say, or we're always assigning intent to their emails or maybe their text messages, or maybe even their own speech. We're assigning intent to those. And my brothers and my sisters, the truth in that relationship is that we are the ones with the problem. We are the ones that are acting in such a way that we're not being genuine in the relationship. And I find that this is common in our culture. We're always assuming, most of the time, the worst in people. And sometimes it can be the direct opposite. We can be incredibly naive. We can be in front of a person who's proven time and time again that they have a problem speaking truth. They're always negative. They're clouded by negativity everywhere they go. They're always saying what's not being done or not being said or not happening. You know, the list goes on. You have people like this in your life. And so sometimes the truth is that we can be incredibly naive in that relationship. And so what happens? We're always let down. We're always hurt. We're always disappointed. We're always upset or angry at that person. And yet the truth in that relationship is that we have a problem being naive, not being, as Scripture says, wise as serpents, but harmless as doves. So we have to bring truth and wisdom into the relationships. I know for me personally, pastoring for 26 years and being in 4 different churches, I can say to you that there's been times where I've been incredibly assuming and a lot of times negative. And I've been guilty of assigning intent or purpose or hidden agendas behind people's messages. And I think we all have to some degree. So I'm not and you're not exempt from this. So how do we deal in truth? Well, my brothers and my sisters, first I think we have to look at how do we apply truth. We have to look at the situation. Am I always assuming negatively of the people that I'm in relationship with? Am I always critical? Am I giving the benefit of the doubt? Am I discouraging? Because see, that's the truth you're bringing into the relationship. And so if the truth is going to set us free, we have to apply that. So what does that mean? I'm going to have to practice not being those things. I'm going to have to practice being the opposite. I'm going to have to choose to be positive. I'm going to have to choose to be maybe engaging. I'm going to have to choose not to assume the worst. I'm going to have to choose not to be critical. I'm going to have to choose to be affirming instead of negative all the time. See, that is the truth, the reality of truth that Jesus shows us in Scripture. Jesus was Jesus, and he brought himself into relationships, and he gave in those relationships according to truth. Yes, sometimes it was hard to hear, and sometimes it seemed harsh. Sometimes it was incredibly gracious. Sometimes it was incredibly patient. Sometimes we even see this side where Jesus struggled with man, saying, how much longer, guys, am I going to have to put up with this? So we see truth in the way that Jesus did relationships. And so I want to encourage us, all of us, that the relationships that we are in, that we're engaged in, whether spouse or family member, co-worker, whatever it is, let's endeavor to bring truth to ourselves and then into that relationship. Let's see the relationship for what it is and not put a lot of assumptions and weigh it down with negativity or maybe overly naivety in those things. Let us figure out what the truth is about ourselves and what we bring into those equations, and then let us make the adjustments that we need to make so that the truth can set us free.